Welcome back. My name is Coffea Iman, and this is another episode of Coffee Interviewed. We have Mr. Ross with us to tell us a little bit about his company and what they do.
Hi, well, thank you for the intro, Coffee. I'm happy to be here. My name is Cody Ross, founder and CEO of Slingshot VR. A little bit of background on me: born Minneapolis, lived in Green Bay, went to college at UW-Madison, worked as a manager for the basketball team at UW, and led to a career in professional sports, which has led me to a career in entrepreneurship. Slingshot VR is a VR company. We specialize in sports training applications. The nature of VR lends itself well to the needs of today's athletes, and we're excited to be on this journey to hopefully disrupt sports training a little bit.
Okay. Well, I met Mr. Ross at a STEM award ceremony, and he was showing us how the applications work and how you can do training on site with just the VR versus being hands-on. So what made you decide to pivot to the virtual world?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I worked in the NBA for about 4.5, 5 years after college. And, how this all came about was I did a lot of hands-on work with the players, from creating playbooks to being on the court, working with them. And, I could just tell that there wasn't the right connection of them being interested and engaged in the learning process of being an athlete. The playbooks, they're two-dimensional. They're not really engaging. It's like, handing, to me, essentially, it was like handing an academic journal to an athlete, and they're like, no, I would rather be on the court doing these things. So film was a little more engaging. You could obviously see different dynamics in animation that would engage these guys, but everything really kind of stemmed to them being on the court, and that's when you got their kind of full attention, and that's where they were, interested in, putting most of their time. So when I was out in San Francisco, we were playing the Golden State Warriors. I like to network. I met some, startup founders in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco area, and I exchanged game tickets for tours of the office. Tours of the office. And so when I was out there, I got introduced to different types of technology. A gentleman that became a good friend of mine showed me a 360 photo that I was fascinated by. And this was in like 2014. And so naturally my curiosity started to like look into that. I saw there was such things as 360 video. And then that got me interested in, 3D real-time rendered environments. And so it kind of caused a snowball of a rabbit hole, I guess you could say. And VR became something I was, super interested and passionate about. And given the elements of what an athlete is, spatial awareness, motor skills, wanting to do rather than read, VR lends itself well to that. So when I saw the value and the opportunities that VR provided, it made sense to me that I think this could be a great solution down the line. So as a kind of hobby and a side, interest while I was working in the NBA, I started to I'd say inspect and explore VR a little bit, and it ultimately led me here.
Okay, sounds fascinating. So walk us through how a player would engage, because I know it's hard to see it without you there, but is it the same concept as a video game?
Yeah, so a lot of the like foundational elements of video game development ring true in VR. We build these solutions the same way that the most popular video games are built in. There's two different engines that people might have heard, and hopefully this doesn't become too technical, but there's Unity which is a game engine that builds video games, and then there's Unreal engine, which also builds video games. These engines create the most popular video games in the world, from Destiny, Call of Duty, Madden, 2K, all of those games that people see. We use the same engines and tools to build them. The difference is we build these for an immersive 360 environment where you put on a headset and you feel like you're in the game rather than looking at a screen. And so, as an athlete, what we've tried to identify is a frictionless experience as far as how a user will be able to maximize the opportunities of VR. Very similar to how an athlete can walk into a weight room and just start doing physical reps. I can get on the bench, or I can pick up some dumbbells. We want to provide that same opportunity from like a mental rep standpoint. So we are creating solutions that allow an athlete to put on a headset, walk, let me back up, go into an immersive lab where you put on a headset and you can walk out onto a court, virtually, and see and be spatially, accurate as far as the dimensions of a regular court, and see all my sideline out of bounds plays, all my baseline out of bounds plays. But the difference is you don't need all of your teammates or other bodies there. It gives you the ability to see these things without anyone there, which the big benefit of this is limiting the wear and tear on the body. So you don't have to have contact practice. You can do these on demand, and that's a big part of athletes really having this information marinate and be retained in their mind, because now you're able to do this 10 times more than you would if you needed to have some guys stay after practice and go through a couple plays with you. Now you can do this 100 times if you need to without needing anybody there. So our focus is to make that very turnkey. And so putting on a headset, walking out into a space and being able to select the things that you want to study and train for. So whether it's defensive principles or your offensive playbook, we want to be able to give you an immersive learning experience that really helps you take that journey, retain it, and perform better on the court.
Now, I'm sure this has been very helpful during isolation, because you can't always be there, or someone is home and is on COVID isolation. Maybe they can get more practice without having to, be around other players. What have you seen percentage wise as making improvement on the playing for each player that you've used?
So we, from one, COVID has kind of been a silver lining for us, because before, and I don't want to say that in a way that's insensitive, because it's been devastating what's happened with the pandemic, but it certainly highlighted the benefits and sometimes the necessity of having more innovative tools that allow you to create work continuity, if you will. And so sports is no different. You want to be able to provide this information to these players, and from a metric standpoint, we're able to provide anywhere from 20% to 70% increase in retention, from a standpoint of like how long it takes them to comprehend a play. And those things are inherent in VR as a technology in general too, because they've done studies with veterans and how they suffer from PTSD. Like there's a lot of different academic studies that demonstrate the power of VR, because it has the ability to like really tap into like the neural elements of your brain activity, and create new types of reflexive thinking and things of that nature. So we're really happy with how this is trending, and we think that it can continue to get better as we get more information from athletes and work with more organizations to create one of the best sports solutions, I guess you could say, out there, because we know we'll never replace the real life contact practice, but we want to be the next best thing that allows them to yield some of that value from being in an environment where you can see and be spatially aware with other inputs and I would say, stimulants as far as like learning, because,
Hmm.
when you're on the court or on the field, that's when athletes feel like they're learning their best. But if you can't have those guys, how do you replace that? And now VR is providing a medium to do so. And, we're excited to, see where it continues to go.
Now you mentioned that you are now offering it for sports. Have you offered it for any other type of avenues or lanes?
Yeah. So early on, we're, relatively speaking, we're a startup, but we have been doing this since 2016.
Okay.
We started, be full disclosure, we were kind of, young and naive, if you will. We kind of
Okay.
were doing everything across the board just to kind of learn the industry and the technicalities of what, the technology was, acquiring bumps and bruises and
Hmm.
things of that nature. But we worked with food brands and provided immersive marketing materials. We worked with healthcare providers and medical device companies as spec projects to allow different types of training for medical device education. So if a
Okay.
scrub tech needs to understand the differences between different devices a spinal surgeon uses, how can you do that in a an effective way, and not create waste or shipping costs, because a big part of medical device companies is shipping these demos. Sometimes they get lost, they got to ship more. But if
Oh,
you have a virtual representation that's three-dimensional, it can be an effective way to teach these scrub techs what a surgeon is going to be asking for, things
yeah.
of that nature. So we dabbled in those kind of avenues, from marketing for food and beverage brands to working with healthcare. We also did a little bit of exploration with the police and kind of military training.
Okay.
We did some of that with some state troopers out in New York, and just really wanted to test and understand all the applications, and see what this technology provided. And we got a lot of good feedback. But it always came back to where our roots are. We have a team that's kind of comprised of people with sports backgrounds, from ex-college athletes to professional sports staffs like myself. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of where we focus. But we always try to be a resource to anybody we've talked to over the years, to be a sounding board or give some insight into what could they use VR for. And that's always what gets me the most excited, is to see the industry and the technology grow. So
Right.
we focus on sports, but we try to be a resource no matter what.
So, what has been the best part of pivoting to this entrepreneurship? Because it seems like you're fairly new at it,
Mm-hmm.
and you spend a long time in what seems to be a very stressful. Well, I won't say stressful if you enjoy it, but a very demanding job. So, what
Oh
has been the
yeah.
best part of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, coming from like the professional sports world, I think it really prepared me for what entrepreneurship would be. I was, probably on a plane 3 to 4 times a week, traveling all over the country
Wow.
with the staff and the team, doing game preparation, doing scout scenarios where we're preparing for 5 opponents out. Meanwhile, we're putting together a game plan for the team we play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That was maybe 90 hours a week in terms of work, and working for 20-30 day stretches where you didn't have a day off. And that was that had a lot of implications professionally and personally, just in terms of like fatigue and some of the things that you want to accomplish as a a family, and all those things is
Yeah.
very, very tough. But it instilled in me a certain type of work ethic, and I think an ingenuity and improvisation of being able to think on your feet and be prepared for anything. And that's certainly what entrepreneurship is you got to think critically and deal with obstacles almost on a daily basis. Hopefully, as you get further along in your journey, you can mitigate those, and
We
not
all
have
hope
it be,
so. We all hope so.
volatile. But nonetheless, you're going to encounter those things. And I think working in the NBA certainly prepared me for that. I would have I would have coaches call me at 2 a.m. after we just got off a 3-hour flight and say, hey, I want to see all of the pick and roll coverages of the Chicago Bulls. We played them in 3 nights, and I had to provide that to the coaches.
Right.
So it certainly was demanding, and it had a lot of benefits and skill development that helped me, I think, transition in a not like a frictionless way. And I know I said that word a couple of times, but like it prepared me. And I think from the standpoint of what I like about entrepreneurship now is in some senses you kind of control your schedule, but that can kind of be a misconception because other people's schedules determine when you can meet with them. Obviously, you being the founder, you gotta be there and represent your vision and the company. So in some cases you do have control over it, but in other cases, you're the only outlet or you're the only resources that can really convey what your business is and what you're doing. And so, there is a lot of demand in that regard, but obviously it's fulfilling. I'm passionate about it, and it's something I wouldn't trade for the world, the same way that working in the NBA, traveling and experiencing that, I wouldn't trade it. This chapter of my life is the same, and I'm excited to see where it takes me.
Now I know you spent you spent a lot of hours building this, so that had to be very to get it to work the way you wanted to when you saw.
Yeah.
So did you have to outsource that type of assistance, or is this 100% you?
Oh, so that's a good question. I'll preface this by saying, like, I'm not a coder. I'm not technical. I have I like to call myself like the translator, because I know enough about like coding and development to be dangerous. I had to do a little bit of coding in the MBA from how we did some of our work as far as like automating some of our scouting software and techniques and all of that. But the thing that I was really focused on when I started this company was understanding like the foundational elements of this technology, and it was the game engine programming, and then the art element of it. You need a 3D artist and you need a programmer. And so I didn't want to outsource that. I thought it was very important to have that be something that is built internally. And so I was fortunate enough to move out to New York, get an investment from some great individuals who are passionate about VR and sports and training and new technology in general. And we hired 2 individuals, a programmer and an artist, and they've been our CTO and 3D artist ever since. So we don't outsource it, but it's built internally. And I think this is my personal philosophy. I always wanted those things to be in-house because, the same way I needed to understand what it meant to, scrub the floors and take that journey through being an intern in the NBA and in a professional organization to leading a team. I wanted our technology to be built at the ground level with people who started the company and, create a deep understanding and a care for the things that we've created versus kind of, I don't want to say anyone who outsources and builds things it's wrong, but just from my philosophy, I wanted to have those things internally done. So, 5 years from then, we could look back and see all the things that we did, what we learned, and just accumulate knowledge and optimize as we go, because I think it'll be better for us in the long run. So we have we started out with a small team. We're a team of 6 right now, and we're looking to grow, but everything that we do is, built in-house.
So what is the future for Mr. Cody Ross? Are you going to extend this out? Would this be a resource that other people can pivot and make it into something, customized for their program? Or will all of this stay in-house for them to, have to use you in order to get things done?
Yeah. So our goals in like the sports market is to create a product that has foundational elements but allows teams to customize it. So there will be some configuration that we provide, but every team does things differently. They have different offensive philosophies or defensive philosophies, and so being able to give them some flexibility as to, putting their own spin on things as far as, how they, communicate defenses, what they call things, what are the audible cues that they want to provide versus, one team to the other. Those are things that we want to kind of give them the option for. But the goal is to create a scalable product that, basically any team could use, and then they can kind of put their own, fingerprint on. So, say 5 years from now, we would like to be a leader in the immersive sports performance space, where we're creating solutions that really drive, better on-court performance or on-field performance, and, is changing the way people train. And so, we feel like we're on our way towards that, but, ultimately time will tell. And, from there, I think, we will always kind of, look at consulting opportunities. I think we've accumulated a lot of knowledge in this space over the past 5 years that allows ourselves to be assets or sounding boards to any industry that's wanting to get into VR. So when it comes to, our offering in the sports space, I think that'll be, a scalable kind of customizable product. But then, when you're looking at different solutions for education, those things might be something that requires, a one-off solution, or maybe it's, something in between. At the end of the day, we just want to be able to, provide value. But I think our focus right now is sports, and then hopefully we can expand into those, other industries, whether it's, education, healthcare, police training, things of that nature.
Okay. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you giving us every piece of knowledge on this technology. Of course, some terms that I will have to look up myself.
Yeah, hey, and I
totally get the visual that you're giving me. Where can someone find and support your company?
I mean, you could check out our website, SlingshotVR.com. We full disclosure, we kind of operate in stealth mode. We don't put a lot of like the focus of like the sports elements. I'm happy to share it here because it's, something that I think provides insight in what we're doing. But we also probably need to update our website. We've been very focused on like building out our product and working with these partners to iterate it. But, our website is a good space to see what we're up to. It has our social media on there. And, I think, that's a good avenue. Please reach out. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested in VR. My email address, I think, is on the website. If it's not, it's just Cody@SlingshotVR.com. Happy to, talk to anybody who has questions about VR and hopefully be of value to them. But
of course.
Yeah, that's, I would be happy to chat and share what we're up to. But, I think those are the best ways, my email or check out our website.
Okay. So make sure you guys follow Cody online, Instagram. Make sure if you have any questions, you submit a contact form or email him as well. Like he said, he's moving in stealth mode. So you don't need to see everything, but just know he's working. And he has some intricate technology that helps all team players, and he can pivot to your business. So just give him a call or chat with him.
Yeah. And if we can't, I will undoubtedly know someone that could probably help you in the space. So always happy to be a resource.
Yes. So I really appreciate you taking your time out, because I know being a founder of anything, your hours are like filled. So again, I totally appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to share insight on your company with my listeners, and I can't wait to see what else you have in store.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I genuinely do. And, the opportunity to share what we're doing and connect with your viewers and listeners, it's a privilege and an honor. So, thank you. And, we'll continue to stay in contact and, share each other's journeys. But, really appreciate the opportunity.